Pete Rose may not deserve this, but we do. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the all-time hit king, Pete Rose. Pete Rose. Over the years I've had mixed feelings on Pete Rose. I think everybody that's from Cincinnati has. Maybe some of you guys outside Cincinnati have had mixed feelings, as he broke one of the baseball laws. Can't gamble on baseball when you're playing baseball. Can't gamble on baseball when you're managing a baseball team. He says he only bet on his team to win. Whether he's telling the truth or not is really irrelevant. Pete Rose is an absolute icon in this city. Now, the reason we're doing this video today is because tomorrow, by the way, today is Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, just for point of reference. Tomorrow is the big day. Pete Rose passed away a couple months ago, still banned from baseball. Tomorrow he will be honored at Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati for his massive achievements, not just for what he did in baseball, but for the type of baseball that he created. The day was September 11th, 1985. Pete Rose shocks the world after hitting 4,192 career hits. A record that I believe will never be broken. And his total, I think, when he retired was 4,256. 4,192 beat out the all-time hit king, nicknamed the Georgia Peach, Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb passed away in 1961. Pete Rose passed away in 2025 here. And I gotta say, it has left a lot of a dirty taste in a lot of Cincinnatians' mouths. And maybe not for the reasons you would expect. Pete Rose was a bit of a, lack of a better word, a-hole. He was raunchy. He was a true West Sider. And I guess being from the West Side of Cincinnati here, I've heard so many stories on Pete Rose, but the one biggest one that I've heard as a person here from Cincinnati, he wasn't very nice. So if you are from Cincinnati and if you've ever bumped into Pete Rose, let me know your story. I've never actually talked with Pete Rose, but I have family members that have. Lots of family members that have. Lots of family members that would like to see Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I do too. I want to see him in the Hall of Fame. Let's be clear there. But maybe not for the reasons you think. I was talking to Jessica's dad the other day, my father-in-law, who knows a lot of baseball. My dad knows a lot of baseball. Father-in-law knows a lot of baseball. Baseball was the thing. Baseball is Cincinnati. The Big Red Machine was Cincinnati. And it's hard for someone who is the greatest of all time, whose record will most likely never be broken, to not have that piece of history in your city. Sure, we will all know, but at what point does it fade away? Pete Rose has passed away, and we as a city need the legend of baseball, Charlie Hustle, as they call him. This is a guy that put everything that he had into baseball. And I will say this, even though he may not have had the best attitude, I am a believer that it takes a real raw attitude to win like he did. I was 4 years old when Pete Rose had broken the record, and you could hear people screaming from the rooftops. You could hear Cincinnati roaring that we had something, that we had an achievement that will most likely never be broken. I've always had a soft spot for the greatest. I know a lot of people don't like Mike Tyson. I know a lot of people don't like Tom Brady. I know a lot of people don't like Pete Rose. But even at that, you have to admit, and I can say that I am glad that I was able to see all three of these professional players and say that I have seen some of the greatest of all time. You guys will be seeing this video tonight as I'm recording this. I'm putting this out early because I want this video to get out there. I want everybody who is from Cincinnati, maybe not from Cincinnati. I'm sure most of you watching this video know who Pete Rose is. He is a Cincinnati icon. And whether he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame or not, we deserve it. Cincinnati deserves it. So if you don't like Pete Rose, if you had come in contact with him, which I know a lot of people have, he was an angry person. He, even up until he passed away, you talk about some of the things like, his gambling. He was a bad gambler, or maybe not a bad gambler, but he gambled. He had a gambling addiction. People have things. People have addictions. Some maybe worse than others. I don't know, someone that's maybe addicted to other things. I'm addicted to food. I probably shouldn't eat so much. Should I be cursed for life because I eat a Reese cup every now and then? Or maybe, all the coffee I drink, should I be cursed because I don't have the greatest habits? And this is the part of the video that some of you may not like. Okay, I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to name names, but you know the teams and you know who they are. And they are in the Hall of Fame. And we're just going to talk baseball players. But there are baseball players out there that I feel that have had altering, steroids and stuff like that. Let's get into that first. I wasn't going to say the word. I'm not going to say the people. You know who they are. And if you don't, you can probably Google it and it's all over the place. But these are people who broke records and that are now in the Hall of Fame that had performance-enhancing things that got them into the Hall of Fame. And again, I'm not trying to defend Pete Rose for what he did. I'm just trying to paint the picture here. I'm trying to paint the picture. Because I think after his passing, God rest Pete Rose's soul, that I think not only him and his family, but I think everyone here in Cincinnati deserve this. And when I say deserve, I mean being in the Hall of Fame, not deserving to stay banned. So another reason why I'm putting this video out, there's a lot of noise going around construction, so I'm having to I know I'm going to have to do a lot of editing out of this, but anyway. Tomorrow is the celebration of Pete Rose. They're starting the game at 7:14. Just a minute earlier to honor his number 14. And there's rumors that they are going to reinstate him back into baseball. It's very important. Pete Rose grew up right down the street from my family. From where I used to live, you could have hit a baseball from where he lived. It's very important. Tomorrow's very important. They need to say something. Now, even if he is reinstated, it could be some years. But that could be the first goal. And one could say that if he didn't break the all-time hit record, there may never have been a chance. Some people say the only reason why he is still, or was still in the position that he is because he beat the all-time hit record. And then maybe there are some out there that just don't want to see him in the Hall of Fame. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of believe that myself. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Yes, he broke the rules, but to be cursed for life and even after death, I don't think so. There's a lot of people around here. I know a lot of people. I have run into a lot of you guys on the channel here that have been talking about this very day and how they are excited, right? Excited for rumors. That's why I'm not excited yet. I'll be excited when it happens. Am I excited for Pete Rose? I'm excited for his family. I'm excited for the fans. I'm excited for Cincinnati baseball and what it deserves. The Big Red Machine is arguably the greatest baseball team of all time. They were the hardest hitters. They were the hardest. Also, Pete Rose actually holds another record, most at-bats or most games ever played. He's been in more games than any other player ever. And because of the way baseball is now, that record may not ever be broken either. And that's kind of why I believe that the record for the hits may not ever be broken, because it's different the way things are today as what they used to be. However, that doesn't take away from the fact, greatest hitter of all time. Greatest hitter of all time. And that alone should put him in the Hall of Fame, without a doubt. That alone, guys. That alone, the all-time hit record should put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame for the city. Even if you don't like Pete Rose, even if you weren't a fan. I know a lot of people from Cincinnati that, had, like I said before, had interacted with Pete Rose. I've heard so many stories, not many of them good. Not many of, wow, you know, I have heard from more people that have met Pete Rose that come back and say, never meet your heroes, right? The guy wasn't a people person. He was a team player. One of the hardest workers I've ever seen in baseball. They called him Charlie Hustle for a reason. This is a guy who dove into first base. Epic photos of his helmet flying 6 feet in the air behind him. He gave it his all. And whether he deserves it or not, I'll say it again, we do. Looks like all the honeysuckles are out and blooming. Big plane going into the clouds. Now let's talk how Pete Rose has affected my life. Growing up, you always have your favorite sports players. You always have your favorite actors. You always have your favorite people. Pete Rose was not my favorite Reds player. Johnny Bench was. I loved Johnny Bench. As a matter of fact, when I grew up, my dad was the coach of our team for the longest time. He was one of the biggest Big Red Machine fans there ever was. My mom included. My aunt and my cousin, they are two of the biggest diehard Reds fans you will ever meet. Ever meet. I mean, they go to a lot of games. They used to have season tickets. They would go all the time. But growing up, I played baseball, me and my brother. They have a park down in Riverside. It's, if you live in Cincinnati, you know right where I'm talking about. Bullface Park is what it's called. We never called it Bullface Park. We called it Pete Rose Park. Pete Rose would show up, even with the attitude, and I'm not saying that, you know, he was like that all the time, because Pete Rose would show up at that ballpark and he would talk with the fans, talk with the Little League baseball teams. I remember one time I was down there, I had heard that Pete Rose's son had showed up to one of the games, which he's pretty well known here, Petey, around Cincinnati. And my brother just happened to hit a home run from one end of the park to the next. I was driving, my mom was driving up, and I had seen the hit, and I was like, was that my brother? It went from one ball field to the end. He walked the home run. Literally, I mean, he jogged, but he didn't need to. He hit that ball so far. That's one of my greatest memories. of baseball. But I love baseball. I always wanted number 5. I always wanted to be like Johnny Bench. And I think a lot of guys my age, everybody always had their favorite player, and a lot of them were Pete Rose. Pete Rose, you can't argue. He has left his mark here in Cincinnati. He is, love him or hate him, he's one of the greatest. I'm sure a lot of you out there in Foxborough, Massachusetts, probably all of Massachusetts, still wear number 12, right? And you will remember number 12 for the rest of your life. Not just because you won't remember him for some of the bad things. You don't try to remember the bad things. You remember the good things. Like all the Super Bowls he won you. All the fun at the game. You remember the games. You remember the fun you had with your friends and family. There was a lot of fun and a lot of memories with my parents. And maybe some of your parents. Maybe some of you that can remember the Big Red Machine and remember the energy that Pete Rose had brought to the game. I was watching some clips on YouTube of Pete Rose, and I recommend you check it out if you've never seen Pete Rose in action. This guy was Mr. Baseball. This guy was incredible. He spoke through action. I think that's something that we probably should have said earlier in the video, is he speaks through action. He speaks through his bat. He speaks through how he performs on the field. Cincinnati deserves this. If anybody happens to be watching this video today that can have any say or any hope, maybe we can get some chance. It's going to be sold out tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's game, I believe, is sold out. They're having a commemorative jersey for Pete Rose, number 14, that they're going to be handing out to, I don't know how many people before they sell out. Usually there's I don't know how many seats there are at Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati Red Stadium. There's a lot. I think somewhere, probably we'll say around 50,000, little less, a little more. Not really too sure. But I'm excited for that. I am not going. I have some things I have to do, but I will be tuning in, some on the radio. I've been listening to some of the radio this morning, excited for what they're talking about. And that's where a lot of the rumors that he's going to get reinstated and all that stuff, I hope he does. I hope he does. Not for Pete Rose, but for all the fans in Cincinnati. I do hope for Pete Rose too. I hope for his family. I hope for his family that they can lay this to rest. Because we're the ones that deserve it. He deserved it in some ways. You know, I mean, you broke the rules, but does he deserve to be punished through this even after death? Okay, so I had to look something up because I felt like it's been a lot longer than back in 2025. Pete Rose passed away September 30th, 2024. So I'm sure some of you probably already put in the comments, it was 2024. Yep, you're right. I've been thinking that ever since I said that. I wanted to look it up to make sure. So he passed away September 30th, 2024. At least according to Wikipedia. Born in 1941. All-time hit king, Charlie Hustle. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, baseball achievements of all time. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Does he not? Let us know your comments down below, but keep in mind, keep feelings to the side. I know a lot of people didn't like Mike Tyson, but you can't deny the knockouts. You can't deny, he did bad things too. He served time. And now that time has been served, and now he's looked at like a hero again. I remember a time when Mike Tyson wasn't. I remember it seemed like everybody didn't like Mike Tyson. I felt like sometimes I was the only one defending him, just because I knew that I was witnessing one of the greatest boxers of all time. Love him or hate him, he was fun to watch. Now, if you're like my dad, or, you're probably grinding your teeth right now. No. Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Rocky Marciano, and sure, they were all great boxers. Who do you think would win in their absolute prime? I've always said Mike Tyson. I don't, Muhammad Ali, yeah, in his prime, it would have been a fun fight, maybe. Mike Tyson broke bones in his prime when he would hit people. George Foreman and Mike Tyson, I think that may have been maybe the closest matchup. Because that's similar to Joe Frazier and George Foreman in a way. I still think Mike Tyson would maybe not have knocked them out, but they both would be recovering for a while. I am excited for what tomorrow will bring. It is a celebration of not just one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but it's a celebration of a person that shines a big light here over our city. If you're from Cincinnati, even if you're not from Cincinnati, I feel like everybody knows who Pete Rose is. And it's been a while. It's been a long time since, I remember when Pete Rose was managing the Reds. This is when all this really went down, And, it wasn't, my Reds team was the 1990 Reds, which is arguably the best single season baseball team of all time. The wire to wire. 1990 World Series champs. Jose Rio, Rob Dibble, the Nasty Boys, the pitchers. They were some crazy pitchers. Chris Sabo, Barry Larkin. What I don't miss is Riverfront Stadium. That was a scary stadium. The seats were so straight up and straight down. I felt like if ever you sneezed, you could fall to your death. I mean, it was a pretty scary stadium. But Great American Ballpark, that is the best thing they could have ever done here in Cincinnati. That stadium is awesome. Doesn't matter where you sit, you've got a good seat. Our journey on the trail is almost at an end. Is this the end? Is it the end for Pete Rose? I don't think so. There's a lot of people thinking that it's going to happen. And for their sake, I hope it does. For our sake, for my sake. Someone who has been a diehard Reds fan their entire life. I hope. I always have hope. And hopefully the message is strong enough that even after Pete Rose's passing, boy, I can't believe it's been so long since he passed. When I looked that up, I was like, September 30th, 2024. It feels like just yesterday, guys. Everybody was sad that day that he didn't get in while he was still alive. Let's make sure he gets in so that his soul can rest easy. It's the only thing after baseball he ever wanted. Hopefully they can grant that for him.